Sisters United Outreach Ministry is proud to present Let's Talk Family, a woman, man, and family-centered TV ministry. This ministry addresses the whole person mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually throughout educational development, interpersonal relationships, and provide community resources.
Welcome to another segment of Let's Talk Family. I'm Sister Ann Allen.
And I'm Sister Good. Hello.
And I'm Sister Tina Edie. Hello.
And I'm Bob Sisler. Hello.
And I'm Matthew Thomas.
Thank you for joining into our broadcast. Today, before we begin, we always like to give reverence to God. In God we live, we move, and we have our very being. At this time, we will ask Sister Good. She will lead us into a word of prayer, and then we will ask for Thomas if he will close us.
Thank you. Would you go to the Lord in your own way, please, and please forgive me because I'm a little hoarse, but the Lord knows our hearts, so we're going to say the words and hope He interprets them for us. Oh, blessed and kind Heavenly Father, I am so blessed to be here. I've been so sick the last couple of weeks, and for that I thank you. And I thank you for everybody else that's suffering, Lord, because a lot of my run crawls got the same conditions I have. So, Father, we know that you are a healer, so we ask for all your healing for all our family and all our loved ones, Father. Watch over us all, Lord, and thank you for bringing us here safe and sound and get us back to the place where we return, Lord. Watch over us all in a special way and watch this show, Lord. We know that you got it in the palm of your hand, so whatever we ask for, Lord, we know that you're already taking care of it.
Amen.
So take care of all our listeners out there, Father, and make sure, Lord, that they remember that we're still here for them. Watch us, Lord. Protect us all, Lord, and give us what we need. In thy divine and holy name, Father, we say amen and amen.
Amen. Thank you so much for that prayer. At this time, we're going to have Sister Edie. She's going to bring words from our sponsor. We do have a new sponsor, Universal Home Health Care and Hospice Care, and I'll be talking about that as soon as Tina finishes.
All right. Thank you. And now here's important information that will put you in touch with more data about our program. Ronald Cross is the ministry of Metro Central Church, located at 4455 Barham Street in Detroit, Michigan, who reaches out to our world and with the message of faith. Wednesday night Bible class, 7 o'clock p.m., Sunday at 9:45 a.m., and Sunday held at 11 o'clock with Ronald Cross. Then we have our next church is Linwood, 14001 Linwood in Detroit, Michigan. They can be reached at 313-868-7795. Come and visit Linwood Church and be blessed with Donnell Stewart. Wednesday night service class at 7 o'clock p.m. Also early service at 5 o'clock p.m. and the morning service at 10:30. Our next church is Liberty City Church of Christ, where you can get the word. Located at 10624 East Jefferson in Detroit, Michigan. And their number is 313-898-2016 with Minister Mark Thompson. And also Wednesday Bible classes early held at 9:45. Sunday also held at 11 o'clock a.m. And Wednesday service, don't forget, is at 7 p.m. With Ronald Cross Ministry, I forgot to inform you with his number. And his number, you can contact them, is at 313-640-9970. Then we moving right along. The Veterinarian Hospital with Dr. Morale at 15018 Livernois in Detroit, Michigan. Zip code 48238. Phone number is 313-863-5350. Open 7 days a week. Monday through Friday from 8 o'clock to 5 o'clock p.m. Saturdays from 8 o'clock to 4 o'clock p.m. And also Sundays from 8 o'clock to 2 o'clock p.m. Again, remember, this is where you take your dogs and your cats. So please, contact this number, 313-863-5350. Veterinarian Hospital for Dogs and Cats with Dr. Morale. And then we have Standard Rehabilitation Incorporated. They treat fractures, auto injuries, back pain, work-related injuries. They also have free transportation with Dr. Bello. They also have Blue Cross, Blue Shield, Medicaid, PPOM, Great West, HMO, and so on. Please make sure you visit this office. You can contact them at 313-934-2623 for Dr. Bello. And they're open Monday through Friday from 9 to 5. Saturday appointments only with Dr. Bello. Again, free transportation at 15875 Livernois in Detroit, Michigan. And you can contact them again at 313-934-2623. And I encourage you to go. Last but not least, we have Sister United that also sponsored this program. We are a family-centered ministry. You have any questions or concerns, please contact us at 313-615-6323. You may contact us again at 313-615-6323. And also, we have Go to Sister United for donations. Please donate to keep our show live and online at PayPal. Donate through sisterunitedoutreach.org. Again, sisterunitedoutreach.org for donations. Also, we have our show live on Saturdays at bgmtvgospel.com. Also, we have our show on Fridays at 11 o'clock in the morning on Comcast on Channel 20. And our website again is www.bgntvgospel.com. And we're going to move right along and go back to Ann. And welcome back, everyone. Thank you.
Okay, we have a new sponsor. We want you to patronize the sponsor, University Home Health and Hospice Care. That telephone number is 1-800-733-1659. So please sponsor, call them. If you have any home health care needs, call them at 1-800-733-1659. Or you can email them at yoursuniversal@yahoo.com. They're open from 9 a.m. until 5:30 p.m. Monday through Friday. And you can contact Mr. Noble again at that telephone number, 1-800-733-1659. Now they specialize in rehabilitation, specialize in IV, wound care, cardiac, and pulmonary. So you can contact them, or you can call me at my office and I can refer you to them. And my telephone number at the office is 1-313-993-0639. And I can also refer you to University Home Health Care and Hospice Care. Okay, so don't forget to please patronize our sponsors. That's how we continue to stay on the air. And because we have not been able to get a lot of people to contribute, now we only will be on the air every other week. So on first Saturday of the month, live, and this third Saturday of the month. So we want you to continue to call in, give us some donation. I know Mr. Muhammad, he stated that he's going to donate some money to us, Sister Good.
Okay.
So hopefully, Mr. Muhammad, thank you so much for donating your monies to us. So continue sending us the money so we can stay on the air.
Amen.
We can go back to
Amen.
like we used to be 5 days a week, okay? We want to get to that point where we're on the air 5 days a week, but we need your help, okay?
Amen.
Okay. If you have any questions, call me at 313-615-6323. God bless you.
At Standard Rehabilitation Incorporated, located at 15785 Livernois in Detroit, we can take care of your rehabilitation needs. Dr. Bellows and his staff of healthcare professionals have extensive experience in rehabilitation and pain management. Our services include treatment for fractures, auto injuries, chronic and acute pain, work and stress-related injuries, just to list a few. Transportation is available. Dr. Bellows is standing by to service you at Standard Rehabilitation Incorporated.
Today our topic is the correlation between the health care in Canada as well as in the United States. Is there a correlation And Mr. Sisler, he's been talking about single payer plan. He's going to explain what single payer plan is. If you have any questions, you can call us at 313-615-6323. We're going to be discussing a lot of things. Willie Lynch, I know many of you know what Willie Lynch is. We're going to be even discussing that. And Sister Good talked to, she was on the telephone with John Conyers, and she's going to elaborate on that, what was talked about. Okay, Mrs. Sisler, take it away.
Okay, I guess the first thing is we should tell the audience that we have this movie called The Healthcare Movie.
Okay.
And both Sister Ann and I saw it last week. And the focus of the movie was that it was a couple, a married couple, and they're an elderly couple. And she's Canadian, he's American. For part of their married life, they lived in Canada. The other part, they lived here in the United States. And at a time in the United States where, if you had an insurance policy, it wasn't too bad. Well, what happened was they started hearing all this stuff about the bad Canadian system, and they were interested in doing something to find out what's wrong with the Canadian system and what is the difference between the American and the Canadian system. So they happened to have a student who went on and did some interviews, and she goes to Canada, and it finds out that really people in Canada, and she interviewed people in Canada and then also in the United States, basically on the west side of the country, in Oregon and then up in, not Nova Scotia, I forget the country, the province, but the British Columbia. That was it. And they were in there, and what they found is that when we talked about health care in Canada, people were very satisfied with their health care. They only found one person who had some objection because he had to wait for an MRI. But most people wanted to work together. And they saw health care as a public health issue. And more than once what you heard was that if you have a good healthcare system, you have a healthier society. And that stood out in a number of spots, that the people who had money felt it was their obligation to help out fellow Canadians. In our country, they did some interviews, and what ended up happening was people said, well, if I made my money, I should keep it. Why should I be helping other Americans? And I had to go back to when I first started working with the state, and we used to have a healthcare system. We had a public health center, and we had a public health center because we saw that it was the betterment of the society. What do we mean by that? Well, as I began, we were wiping out things like hepatitis, tuberculosis, and other diseases that were around at the time, and they were really becoming under control. And in working in the mental hospital, one of the major things that we had to do for someone to be released from the hospital was they had to be able to take care of their activities of daily living. So it meant that they'd have to wash themselves, brush their teeth, be able to, get food and shelter and all that stuff. What we have done now in our society is we've allowed people to live in squalor. We've allowed for homelessness to exist as if that's a normal thing that people should have. And it's become so normal that we think at Christmas time we throw a few dollars at it, we're being really good Christians. Well, I'm here to challenge you because I believe what we've done is created a horrible system that we're accepting something that shouldn't be accepted. The results of that is, when you look at Canada where they're caring for health care, they have a city called Toronto. Toronto's about the size of Chicago. Do you know how many murders they have in Toronto a year? 50. 50. Most of them are domestic, but 50. When you look at Chicago, 50 on a good night might be low. So, what's the difference? My belief is when you look at the policies are to make a healthier society. I know when I go to Windsor to buy my fishing license and it's during the day, all the kids are in school. If somebody's walking the street, I think the police would pick them up and say, why aren't you going to school? We used to have that. But now we've allowed ourselves to believe that these charter schools, and it's better to teach your kid at home on a computer, and you know, we've allowed ourselves to believe this stuff that doesn't make real good sense. Now, when we talk about it infecting the society, where was it that the meningitis just had a breakout in this country? It was Princeton. Princeton University. Wealthy people. Now, I'm not going to say that there isn't a meningitis breakout somewhere in the homeless population, but that's not going to get reported. That's why healthcare is so important. Because if we don't treat these illnesses and keep them contained, they can spread through the society. They can spread rapidly. And that's what we used to do. But all of a sudden we've gotten this attitude that we take care of ourselves and not that we're part of a greater society.
Good, yeah.
The greater good of the society. Mutual aid to help each other out. Loving our brothers and sisters. And what I really see is it's almost like the curse when we don't do it. It's a curse when we do not take time to help our brother and our sister who we don't even know.
But I would like to ask a question too for the viewing audience. I want you to tell me who is the father of healthcare in Canada. And you tell me he was very relentless when it came to advocating for the healthcare of all human beings. That's one concept that I like about the Canadians. They want everyone to be covered, even as meaning that the doctors have to give up some of their financial gain for the well-being of everyone. So I want you to tell me who is the father of healthcare in Canada. And like I said, he was very relentless in promoting this healthcare so everyone would be able to have access to healthcare. We have more people in the United States dying because they don't have access to healthcare. I can't recall the number that was mentioned, but when it comes to Americans, there's a vast number of people die each year because they don't have access to healthcare. In Canada, it is zero.
I said they don't understand it. From what I gathered from the discussion we had, most people don't understand what it's all about. And I think the biggest part of that misconception came from when the government had to shut down. I think something happened to cause the health care not to go through like the Obamacare like it was supposed to have gone. And a lot of people think that something happened tragically within that realm. I don't want to say what happened because I don't know. But people got all kinds of theories as to what happened. Like putting a monkey wrench in something and starting to act up. And people just don't understand what's happening because they feel that it didn't provide what Obama said, and believe it or not, that's not the problem. But to get people back to believing in something when their faith been shaken, it's a little hard, and that's what makes them so slow and grasping their thread.
Because I think what happened is that many times, I think it's just like in Canada, initially everybody was saying, oh, it's going to be it's going to be socialized health care. So you say something negative, pessimistic, then they repel. I don't want to be bothered with that because you're taking away my health care dollars, I'm paying for you. But in Canada, initially they had that same rebellion, but because of Providence, they kept promoting that this is the good for the common man. Everyone needs health care. It's a human right. And so they began to buy into that. And now by our societies that we want to have the haves and the have-not.
Yeah.
You know, I feel good because I think on the film that we saw that Ted Kennedy, he was saying that he had gone to the hospital with his child. And he knew his son was going to get the best of care. And his child wasn't going to die because he didn't have access to health care. But he said, I looked around and I saw all these other, my counterparts, and their kids are dying because they don't have the monies for the health care plan. So I think that was something that was initially talked about in the movie that we saw.
And
you know,
that's
like we
something
don't,
everybody
yeah.
should see.
Yeah.
See,
But they don't
when
want
you
that,
don't
you know.
see that, that's something that's not available for you to be able to look at and
Mhm.
grasp and say that this is what happened because I'm deprived of
Mhm.
this.
Yeah.
All we can see as people is the fact that somebody is doing something shady and they're trying to keep us from getting something that's good for us. And then they have hurt you so much, you just don't know who to trust anymore. And they blaming the man that started, which is the president,
He's trying.
and they're not getting behind him in this. So you just feel all of a sudden, and I got that from the conference,
Mhm.
from that phone, people calling in. A lot of them thought that all of this is, this is not working like he said it was going to work. This is the biggest thing I heard. He said we didn't have to do this and we didn't have to do that. And we just ain't going to take that chance with this because look at what broke down. And it just so many negative factors interject into that. They scared.
Mhm.
They are absolutely scared. And maybe, as Michael Weston did, this guy that did the movie 9/11, that lives in Michigan, this big, if he doesn't come and show them something, shake them up, or they see a movie of that nature, they're not going to jump on board because they're right.
And I think that's what the media, I think that's what
And that's what they intended to do.
want. I
They
think
did.
They wanted to do that too.
It worked very
Frighten
well.
people, you know, because when he started talking about health care for everyone, he's like, well, you're going to have socialized medicine.
Yeah.
Then you're going to be on this long waiting list. And then
Yeah.
they alluded to Canada.
Yeah.
And people don't know all the details about Canada. So anything
Need a
negative,
movie.
that's what happened. I think you made a good point because you were saying that you owe this money. I wanted to explain it to the audience because you owe some money for health care, but because of this new plan that they implement now you don't have to pay. Okay, what happened?
What happened is I went to an emergency room at Providence before the Obama plan went through, and I had a balance. I called to try to get it resolved, which it didn't happen, and then when they came back to the phone, they let me know that the balance was paid 100% since the Obama. I do have insurance now at Providence, and they gave me a number for the clinics I could go to at Providence Hospital and pharmacy for free.
So,
Yeah.
so what happened is we just have to be patient. I mean, when you're
Yeah.
trying to implement something, there's always gonna be something
Nixon Brandon,
pessimistic,
it's got
gonna
to
be
work out.
something that you gotta go through.
Got to work
Because you just think that she don't have that bill now, but if she had, before this came into effect, she would have to pay for that
Yeah.
bill. So you just have to be patient. I know it's very difficult because I know many clients call me and say, I tried to get on that system
Couldn't get there.
and it fell through. Am I gonna have insurance? Am I not gonna have insurance? Anytime you're trying to implement something, always gonna be something to deter you from getting to that point.
But
We're
what
doing it right now.
But whatever
So-
hospital you go to, what Providence did tell me, if I was to go in now, just say they didn't take care of me, they would have gave me insurance right there on the spot. So whatever hospital you have, so all the hospitals do have that now because of the Obamacare.
But
And
there
one thing
again,
I
we
think
need
about-
that. We need people like you that has been through that and has gotten that positive response to tell
That's
other
right.
people that's
Yeah.
so frightened that it does work. Just
Yeah.
give it time and keep on pursuing it. And don't let all this negative stuff prevent you from
Exactly.
trying to get it straight. You got to stay focused on what you're trying to do there. You're trying to get mad. I haven't seen anything that didn't take some knockdown and getting up again to make it work, even segregation. You know, you
That's
gotta
right.
go back to what you know
Mhm.
happened. It took a lot of people to die to get to this place, and it took a lot of walking, and it took a lot of
That's right.
everything, I know.
Absolutely.
So we gotta keep doing
Persevering,
and
that's
stay on that
Mhm.
track out there, and got to stay with the man that put this in effect. Because if you look at him, he just wore out because things have not worked the way you want them to work. But he's still pursuing it, and you got to stay just as indulgent as he is. He's trying to make something happen for the world, the whole United States. And that's a lot on his shoulders if we get too scared to stay in the game now.
Mhm.
So stay in the game.
Now, there is another question here, is that is healthcare a human right or a money maker? So I want you to call us and answer, is healthcare a human right
Yeah.
or is a money maker? Mrs. Sister, you wanted to talk about that?
Or who asks and who
Yeah.
won't answer.
Well, the difference is, in Canada,
Mhm.
they believe that healthcare is a human right.
It is.
Mhm.
Mhm.
In our country, we believe in insurance companies.
That's right.
Mhm.
Insurance
They-
companies,
between
by
you
its
and your
very
doctor.
word, is a moneymaker.
Mhm.
It by its
That's right.
bylaws has to produce money for its fiduciaries.
That's right.
One of the things that this movie showed, which was so dynamic, was that the doctors got together in the 50s, and our insurance program was very similar to Canada's.
Mhm.
They started with Blue Cross Blue Shield, which had a nonprofit status.
Mhm.
In order to have that nonprofit status, everyone paid the same amount into the pool, and everyone received their doctor's bills and their medical hospitalization was covered. I mean, that's the way it worked. What happened was, because it was a nonprofit status, and everyone could come, then sick and well people went in the pool. It was still doing very well. But what happened, insurance companies, the money makers,
Mhm.
began to say, oh, we're going to take the healthy people. And we're not going to insure everyone.
Mhm.
We're just going to insure this group who seem healthier,
Mhm.
and we'll charge them a little less so they'll come and pay us instead of going into the pool.
Mhm.
And by law, because they were not for non-profit, they could do that.
Mhm.
And now, very few of your Blue Cross, Blue Shield, are not for profit.
Profit.
Most of them are for profit.
They are.
So,
And some hospitals too are going for profit.
yeah,
You know,
almost all of
because
them.
now healthcare is a business.
Mhm. It has-
There's only
it's a
one
big
that
business.
isn't
A big business.
in the
That's it, it's a
Detroit area.
business.
Do you know which
Yes,
one?
it is.
No, whatever.
Henry Ford.
Mm.
It still maintains a nonprofit status.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So
All the rest are for profit.
Yeah, because it's a business.
DMC, it used to be DMC and Henry Ford were the only two nonprofit hospitals in the area. But once Vanguard bought DMC, it became
Mhm.
for-profit.
Mhm.
But DMC is no longer under Vanguard.
No, it's
No,
under
it's
another
under
corporation,
Tenant,
which
no?
is
It's
probably
under Tenant.
worse.
You know, it's
Well, I don't know
still-
anything about it, I'm
still
not
profit.
there any longer.
Yeah, but you
No,
can
but
all,
I'm-
but guess what?
Miss
Watch the way
Ann
the
would
money
have to
flows.
answer
Mhm.
that one.
Mhm.
That She may incriminate herself because of the way she
So, healthcare, as I stated, is a human right.
Well, yeah, but not in this country, because we
No,
don't
it's
believe
not.
it.
Yeah,
So the
we
question
don't
is,
believe
I'm not
why
saying
in this
this
country
country
don't we believe it?
that. We don't
No,
believe
no,
Why?
I'm not saying in this country. I'm saying, but healthcare, my belief that healthcare is a human right.
I believe that.
That's what
I
I'm
believe
saying
that
from a
too.
personal experience.
You know why we don't believe it?
Why?
Because we have not believed the fact that we are our brother's keepers.
No.
So you gotta first go
And
with that.
I believe we don't practice democracy.
Yeah, absolutely. I think by, being indigenous, to this land, period, God has given us all things.
Yes.
Free of no charge. But I think that man has taken control over the resources, you understand, to say that it is his.
Mhm.
They've basically, separated, themselves, from the masses. and we're not sharing what God has given us freely. And just like you said, Sister Ann, by you believing healthcare is a human right, I believe that same thing. By us being indigenous to this land, which means that we're born into this earth, then we should have equal rights to all of the resources of free healthcare, housing, food, the whole 9 yards. And I don't think none of this stuff should be for profit, because it basically desecrates a society. To have one, group of individuals, controlling and hoarding, everything for themselves.
Because you got to have, again, the haves and the have-not.
That's our society. That's how it was put together. It was put together that you always got to have the poor and the rich. And that's what we got to, and that's hard to break. That's hard to break because
all of these policies and rules, you understand, are strictly man-made. And has nothing to do with the order of God.
And man.
So why is Canada different from us? Why do they believe in mutual help? Why do they believe healthcare is a human right and we do not? My question is, did Canada ever have slavery?
Well, not in history. I don't, in the history, and I've studied, but I have not seen any place where Canada had slavery there.
In
But
fact, wasn't
I
it the
think
Underground Railroad?
Railroad,
They went
they
to
came
Toronto to
through,
get
they were
free?
always trying to
So they were trying to
have
navigate their way
slavery.
to Canada.
Yeah,
Yeah. In the 70s, 80s, there used to be a restaurant in Toronto called the Underground Railroad.
yeah.
And go there and eat and tell you all about
So Canada,
it. So Canada didn't have slavery.
no, they didn't. Not according to what I read.
Right. So what does this, so does the United States suffer from that Willie Lynch syndrome? And what
I
is
think
Willie
so.
Lynch? What is Willie
I
Lynch?
think
You got the first explain to the
Thomas?
people what it is.
Willie Lynch was a British slave owner from the British Isles who came to West Virginia in roughly about 1712 to basically teach the colonies down there how to control slaves through brute force. And a lot of what we see now, the fear that has engulfed people to be so inhibited, not to reach out and
Not to vote? People are intimidated not to vote.
Intimidated, absolutely not to vote, absolutely.
Yeah. I didn't mean to cut you. I mean to.
And that's one of the reasons he's definitely, Willie Lynch is definitely one of the individuals, who was looked up on, as a power source, you understand, to keep slaves inhibited, so that they don't, come outside of themselves, and they can always live in this certain realm of fear, that they become at some point almost non-existent, you understand, but then believing, that they have a right, you understand, by them God making us indigenous, to have that human right, you understand, to be able to take care of our families.
In his works,
Yeah.
how long did he say? Willie Lynch actually said this.
He's
If you get these concepts in place,
correct.
they will last how long?
300 years.
300 years.
Yeah.
So are we in the middle of that? Is that the result of why people across this country? Because I don't think it just stayed within the slavery
It didn't.
existence. I think what happened was the money makers and the
Yeah.
industrialists of our country
Utilize
have turned around
and use
and spread it throughout the
They
country.
have.
So we have pockets across this country thinking, I am not part of everybody else. I'm my own self, and I don't have. I don't have fellow Americans. I don't have fellow Canadians like the Canadians do. I don't have to worry about the next person. Just worried about myself
Absolutely.
is supposed to be primary, and somehow that gets you to
And
heaven.
that's what has
I don't know.
divided us, as a culture, you understand, is because of the me-isms, the self-assertion, and the, all of these isms, you understand, is what divided us, is what divides us as a people. And that's why it's so chaotic. That's why situations between us is so chaotic.
I think what Willie Lynch did was created a milestone on his own that spread it like wildfire. he created rules and regulations, and he enforced them by in dealing with fear and showing the master, the slave master, as you call it, how to utilize this theory and to put it into
Absolutely.
effect. And
Absolutely.
it has kept us chained as people all our lives,
Absolutely.
Well,
and nobody
It's
has
divided.
broken it.
Absolutely.
see,
Yes,
probably,
what he wanted to do, he wanted to divide
He divided and
the
covered.
young against the old against, so he wanted to divide the human beings against each other. The young against the old, the white against the black. So he wanted to divide everyone. He said, if you do that, then you can control your
Absolutely.
slave, and then it can
Absolutely.
filtrate itself out into
And
other
other
areas
segments
as
of
well.
society, okay? And,
well, you know, when I was reading some of the principles, one of them said you break up the family. The next one says you make sure that people are not connected with their past, and you make sure that the education is of a poor standard, only directed at what you want them to do.
Absolutely.
Well, what does
And-
that sound
and it-
like to you?
That sounds like today.
That's
Yeah.
what it is.
I mean,
That's right.
whether we talk
Yeah.
about, I mean, across this
Yes.
country, whether it's the white or black communities, we see families being broken up. We do not see the strong sense of family. We saw just recently that the emergency manager in Highland Park was going to take all the black labor books and burn them.
Yes.
People had to come and
That's
save
it.
them.
He was going, he was out of his mind, but see, he's also wrapped up into the Willie Lynch theory
Well,
so much, he didn't care.
Is he out of their minds, or are they the new
Hitler-
field marshal?
Hitler-
Yeah,
Hitler.
field marshals. Because most of them are, you know, the emergency manager's nothing more than a field marshal.
I think that'd be
The hierarchy, or the Reich, or
That's
whatever
right.
you want to call Snyder, has sent these folks in as field marshals. And they gotta be, people have to think about, what is a field marshal? It's somebody, it's a general who's being sent in. This person was not elected.
No, he was sent in.
The people did not elect
Had
him.
nothing to do with
We
it.
have Field Marshal Kevin Ulmer
Yes,
over
he
the
is.
city of Detroit,
Yes,
because he's a non-elected person
that was sent
doing
in.
things
That's right. That's
that
right.
the elected people could have done.
Mhm,
There was talks about us going into bankruptcy under Bing.
mhm.
In fact, it was Tom Barrows who said, let's go into bankruptcy and we can do it on our own.
He
You don't
did.
have to
He
pay
did.
somebody to
That's
send you
true.
there.
He did.
Yeah,
He said
but
that.
what has happened, we again
Mhm,
have the right, or whatever you want to call Mr. Snyder,
mhm.
because keep in mind, when you talk about the hierarchy of the Nazi party,
Mhm.
it was elected to begin with, and then they started putting out the field marshals.
Mhm.
Now, I hate to use those kind of words, but I think we better realize we are in a very, very dangerous place.
We are. We are.
And the other night, a labor person who was honored at Central United Methodist Church, his name's General Baker, he said he's so afraid because we're coming up on the 50th anniversary of things that happened in 1964. And if you look at 1964 in the history, that's when they started having small disturbances around the country, in Philadelphia, etc. And then they culminated with the riots. And people can only be stretched so far. You know, when you turn around and say, you've worked all your life, we guaranteed you a pension, and now we're gonna take some of that back to pay off this debt, which is there, but we refuse
That's right.
to tax billionaires in this country in order to adjust the bottom line of the taxes. We have so many billionaires that in 60 minutes, they're talking about getting half their money back when they die. Why did we tax them so we're not in this mess?
Oh, there you go.
What is
I
wrong
agree
with
with
us that we as a democracy, we as a people have not recognized this, came out, voted and done something about it. What is wrong with us?
Well,
We
well,
go home and what do? We hit that TV
And that's it.
and we hope we're gonna go through those 300 stations and one of them's gonna make us feel happy tonight.
Mhm.
Well, Mr. Sizzle, you gotta look at it from this perspective. And the minister, brother of whoever said that to you back in
Oh,
the 60s.
General Baker. His
He
name's
was
General
right
Baker.
if you look at
Yeah.
things
Oh.
the way they're happening,
Right.
because I remember the 60s, and I remember how the upheaving come a little at a time.
And why?
Little at a time, because the people sat back and they refused to do anything because they got too frightened. They were scared to death, and so the ones that they took advantage of the fear and started doing things like the riot and etc. And that the killing, look at the killing,
Yeah.
look at the killing.
That's right.
And all these little patterns, so when I pray, I said, Lord, don't let me see what I think I'm looking at, you know.
Mhm.
I don't know about you, but I've been to more funerals of young
Yes,
people
yes.
That's true.
than the old ones.
But we are so complacent,
Oh,
Mr. Sizzle. We sit back and we just take things for granted. We don't look at what's really happening around us and what's going on. And everything I take and put it into time and space and say, I need to do something, Lord, but I don't know what I need to do. I'm one person, but maybe I can stay or do something, as I said on the TV, on the phone the other night. It's something that we gotta do as a people. We don't do that much. We because we are so frightened, we get frightened and we do nothing. And then always think about what the Willie Lynch theory was set up
Right,
for.
right.
And if you think about it, I got papers and flyers that I've had for years on Willie Lynch and why he put these there. It wasn't so much just people, it was your own color inside a real ring that he
That's
put
right.
them against each other.
Right.
The light skinned was against the dark skinned, and he just made it all this come together to keep us in fear.
And keep
Now
it
the
divided,
violence
just
is
divided.
the violence is getting us now.
Mhm.
It'll stop. Cause we getting so to the place, as you said, that we don't know what to do.
I was at a funeral the other day and I read a poem about Trayvon Martin, and it was addressed to young people, and it went something like this. It said, you know, Mr. Zimmerman came after me. I knew he didn't think much of me. I knew that I wasn't much in the society compared to other people, but I never thought they'd shoot me. I never thought they'd hunt me down and kill me. He then said to the young people in this poem, we have to start getting off these cell phones.
Oh God.
We have, our families, our forefathers have fought for us to have an education and to do something with our lives, and we choose not to go to school. We think it's cool to hang out and
Yes.
do these other
Yes.
things. And he says, Zimmerman took my life, but when you have brother on brother and sister on sister, what is wrong with us? And I
Well,
think we have to begin to ask ourselves those questions. What is wrong with us that we're taking this hatred and internalizing it instead of recognizing that we could bring it together and really take the sword and make it into a plowshare.
that's right.
We can take this hatred, and I'm not going to say you're not going to feel the hatred. I'm not going to say that you're not going to feel down. But look for a way that you can take it and use it in a better way.
To rise up.
And what better day to
Yes.
say this, the same week that President Mandela passed.
Yes.
That's true.
That this man, after all those years in prison, should have had hatred, but he came
That's
out
right.
and he treated everybody fairly, black, white, no matter
Everybody.
what.
That's true.
And if we can get that, if we can wrap around those concepts of love and peace and justice, we got it made. I thought years ago when I started with this healthcare that people would just flock to this, that mothers would want to make sure that their kids were
Yeah.
covered.
Yeah.
That parents would say, this is a system we won't have to worry about it changing next year, that we could really have health care and make a better system
Yes.
for ourselves like Canada. And not like Canada, we could do better than Canada. Canada doesn't have dental or eye. We could, the HR 676 that Conyers has brought in has both dental and eye.
Yes.
And we
Yeah.
do it by putting our money together. We do it by mutual help, and we do it by taking one thing out. For-profit systems.
That's true.
That's what HR 676 does. It makes it illegal for any company to sell you anything necessary for your health care. So guess what? We would be on rewind to 1950 when the doctors first implemented
Yeah.
Blue Cross Blue Shield
Yeah.
nonprofit.
Yeah.
That's basically what we'd be going back to.
Yeah.
That's true.
So it's not that it doesn't work, it does work. It's when the crooks get involved and try to make profit
From
out
it.
of something which should be a human right
In
that
the first place.
it messes us up.
Mhm.
And again, they put that fear in a person, in people, when they start to socialize healthcare. And when they hear that, then people say, well, I don't want to socialize medicine. I don't want, they grandiose it, where people become so fearful. And again, fear take over, and they have one incident where something might have happened, and they blow it out of proportion.
And I want to say this, and maybe we can say it again before we stop today. If there are viewers out there that want to learn about, that want us to show the healthcare movie, it takes
That's
about
what they need.
65 minutes,
Mhm.
and we have a panel discussion about everything we're talking about. Call the number that Sister Good will give you, or Sister Ann,
615-6323.
and we will set up a date and a time and do it.
I think that's what it needs.
You ready to go?
No, we'll be here, call you, and then we get a number
No,
of
I
people, and
thought
then we
you-
get half the UAW. We can find a place.
Yeah.
Don't worry, we can use my.
Okay,
But
so
not
if you
only
want to
that-
know about the health care plan and how it's going to impact you, you can call us at 313-615-6323. Again, that number is 313-615-6323. And we can sit down and have a discussion. You can even come on the show, and we can talk about the health care plan, the correlation between the health care plan in Canada and the U.S. Health care plan,
And you
Okay.
ministers out there.
especially you ministers.
You got a congregation that's following you. And if you want to do what God said, to lead them in the right direction, you call
Right.
this number and you can show the move at your church.
Yes,
That's right.
we would come to the church and present.
That's
right.
what you got to do. You got to come together because as Mr. Sizzle was talking about what he heard at Trayvon's, at this funeral, like about Trayvon Martin.
Mhm.
See, I had that post in my office when I was working. It said they came for the communists and I wouldn't help. Came for the homestead, I wouldn't help. And then when they came for me, wasn't nobody left. And that's where we are now.
That's
We
right.
are
That's right.
at the point where there's not going to be anybody left if we don't come for ourselves, because one of the statements that I heard one of the Klansmen say that we ain't got to kill them, they're going to kill this out. Made that just as bold, and that's a form of genocide if it ever was. And we're doing it for them. So I find that we don't listen well. We don't pay attention to what's going on around us. We want the cell phone has deadened cells in our brain.
That's true.
So we only hear and see what we want to see. And yeah, Big Brother hears and see everything you say because you got him
Well,
tuned
this is the thing
in.
too, cell phones and computers have taken
It-
over human
it has.
relationships,
It
casted
That's
human
true.
relationships out, and so we're living, just like Sisler said, we're living in dangerous and tumultuous times, and I think that the ignoring of one another is very dangerous.
And I think they do that
Only
because
thinking
they're
about our
scared.
own
And-
interest, self-interest. We've
Yeah.
become so self-centered,
Right.
as a people, and very, very selfish and greedy.
What we've learned also is social media is taking over anyway
It
with our
has.
society
It
anyway,
has.
and it's gonna get further advanced with,
Mhm.
as time goes on. from what I'm learning in school.
And what they need to know what the word socialization is in the first place. They think that everything is a form of communism, of socialness. Yeah, learn how to socialize with each other, because we don't know that one.
That's
If we
true.
learn that one, then we can learn how to help each other, because you in tune to each other's needs. And maybe you can help and tell the person down the street what they need to do. Help, where they having problems, worried about how am I getting into this healthcare. Take your time and explain it to them. As I told them, I said, everybody I talked to, I explained how this healthcare can be so important. And, you know, and we all need to get involved, because it's a way of dividing us, and we already, the elephant, they took the chain off us, but we still tied to the elephant. We ain't moved, we still got them shackles chain on to us.
That's true. And one thing about it, and then going back to biblical, like God talk about in 2 Timothy, God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. Because when you become fearful, then it will stagnate you. You don't know what to do. So that's what happened when they say, when they mention this. And so that's why the rich understand when we say socialize. They don't have to worry about it, because they have the health care that they need. But they mention to you and say, well, you're going to have socialized medicine. You're not going to have the health care that I have. But when I say socialize, then that means, well, I don't want that. You know, they try and take away. You don't have, some of them don't even have any insurance anyway.
And believe
So
me,
I don't
most of
really-
it's propaganda.
That's all.
The challenge
That's
isn't
all.
with the word socialism.
There you
Our
go.
challenge
You gotta
is
stop that
whether or
word.
not we want to have a
That's right.
society
We
that's
got to
based
stop that word.
in love versus hate,
Hate, yes.
whether we want health care
Yes,
or do we want companies making money.
yeah.
Are we willing to look at mutual aid for each other, or are we just looking out for me and myself? Do we want to be proud that we have more children in poverty at the same time that we look at the rich and famous and say, oh, we have so many billionaires at the sacrifice of our children? What kind of society does that give us? It gives us one where our children commit murder.
That's right.
It gives us one where our children are confused and are heavily into drugs and alcohol.
Oh, yes, they are.
We have children who commit suicide because they just can't do it. And we
They can't
have the
cope.
parents responding in a similar way because they're lost in that
They are lost.
mesmerization of the rich and famous.
That's right.
That 300 stations on the TV. How many can you watch in one night?
That's what I'm
Oh,
saying.
I don't.
And I think many of them say, you know, oh, I have 300 channels.
You do?
No, not me. I don't even seldom watch television. But they you know, they glorify, I have 300 channels. So, well, how many you, I mean, what you gonna do? All night long you watching television? You know?
I think
So
we do.
it's 300 stations, you know, so you glorifying the idea that you have 300 stations, or how many stations, like you said, how many can you watch? All this nonsense, you know, all these other stars that you try to want to betray that you're that type of person, you know. It's just really sad.
And he did a good analogy on Canada and the United States. But the analogy that you all out there need to be aware of is that the health care for yourself. I don't care whether you're not in Canada or where you are. You got a family that needs the health care. And the president has tried all he can to make this feasible for you. So don't do like everybody else tried to make this as a thing, because it's a issue that you don't want a person to have power to bring this about. If you're fighting me so hard for something, and that's the stubbornness in me. If you fighting so hard for not want me to get it, I want it more then than ever. Take that initiative about it. If you're telling me this is something I can't have, don't say that to me, because I fight hard to get what you're trying to keep me from. Because it's a reason you're trying to keep me away from it.
That's right.
So why not take that concept? That's always been my model in life. If you don't want me to have something, you better pretend you do, and then I won't go so hard after it. So since they don't want to, pretending to not want us to have this, then you need to fight tenaciously to get it, because there's something good about it, and they don't want you to enjoy the fruits of your labor that
Amen.
God has given.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Can we explain or point something out? In states where they have embraced the Affordable Health Care Act, it is working very well.
Yes.
And it looks like they're going to get a lot of people insured. One of them is California.
Mm-hmm.
One of the reasons why I think California may be working so well is because they have a very active single payer system,
Mhm.
which would make the insurance companies almost illegal.
Mhm.
So therefore, the insurance companies are trying to do the right thing, which the president tried to get them to do.
Mhm.
He said you can make 15–20%, but that's it, don't make more profits than that. Now, they've, of course, in some states, tried to manipulate that part of the law, as they do in a lot of things, and make more, and therefore not give health care to people. If they were to take this law and restrict their profits, every American could conceivably be covered with the healthcare system. But because they are still on this wealth versus healthcare, we're going to have problems, and we have to realize that. In the state of Michigan, the Medicaid part of the Affordable Health Care Act will not even take part until April. That's not the president's fault.
Mm-mm.
That's because our legislature,
Mhm.
who are represented with a certain party,
Mhm.
fooled around with getting it approved
Yes, they
until
did.
the very last minute.
Mhm.
Exactly.
So keep in mind,
And that was
you
purposely.
have put people in these offices
Mhm.
That's right.
and have allowed them to do things that kills your brothers and sisters.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah, and they did that purposely. Don't leave that off now. A lot of the stuff that has
They
happened,
may have
the
been so
shutdown of the
confused, they didn't know
government,
what they were doing.
that was they knew just what they were doing. And we got to learn to understand that things that happens for a reason. Doesn't necessarily mean it's good for you. So always look for the worst in anything that you see.
Well-
And then let God show you the best.
So we have the final conclusion, everybody can come and give your final conclusion.
Okay, two things I'd like to say. If you want the healthcare movie shown and presentation, please call Sister Ann at our regular number.
313-615-6323.
And another action that I'd like to give you is Monday, December 16th, in the front of the Cadillac Place. The state workers are going to be there, but this is important that all people come down and tell the governor we're not satisfied with him. From 12 to 1
Okay.
on the 16th, Monday, December 16th.
I just think this program should have been addressed a long time ago, and I'm glad it's open now. So if you have any questions, call Ann.
Call us at 313-615-6323. This is good.
I just like you to call, the preachers to call more than anything, 'cause you got these churches. We can show the move at your church.
And do a nice presentation.
Amen.
Let them be informed. That's
Yeah.
the heart of being a minister. You're administering to the people.
And I will ask my minister
Okay.
to make sure.
We'll bring the
Okay,
pot.
Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
any
Last
final
word.
words?
Second.
I know all of us, share common interests, here on this planet. And I just hope that we can start looking at, what God's plan is, for all of us, instead of, looking at what man's plan is.
Okay.
And that we can come together, in love, and sharing and caring, among one another.
Man.
And also.
What's going on, y'all? It's Mr. Bell. Some know me as Antone Choirboy Bell. Others know me as Elder Antone Bell. I am co-CEO of Bell Global Network, BGN TV 2090. And I want to invite you right now to get your own broadcast. Calling all ministries, all politicians, all business owners. Get your own broadcast right now, starting at $99. And if you have an idea for a TV show, we can bring your idea to reality. We have packages available that includes production and facilities. Also, we have advertising packages starting as little as $25. So don't hesitate. Give us a call at 313-355-7877. Once again, that's 313-355-7877 to make an appointment today.